finds the best friend she's always dreamed of.
All she wanted was to be loved.
Until a horrifying betrayal changes everything.
I couldn't even imagine somebody being that cruel and ugly.
That girl had no idea what was coming down to her.
Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Darlene Haynes is shy but kind. She goes out of her way to help people.
She was sweet, loving, caring. If you asked for her shirt on her back, she'd give it to you.
Darlene lives with her boyfriend, Paul Gonzalez. To help pay rent, Paul invites his friend Alex Dion and his girlfriend Julie Corey to move in with them. Julie is outgoing, confident, and fun to be around.
Darlene thought Julie was a wonderful person.
From the very beginning, Darlene and Julie hit it off. The roommates quickly become best friends. The friendship is especially important to Darlene.
Darlene didn't have too many friends. She looked up to Julie as a companion, somebody I can talk to.
You have this awesome house now, that's exciting.
Growing up, Darlene had little contact with her mother and was raised by her grandmother. She has always longed for a close female friend and a sense of family.
All Darlene wanted was to be loved. She really looked for that love nurturing that she didn't have.
Darlene wanted her mother, but her mother didn't want her. And I think if Darlene's mother would have taken her in and told her she loved her just once, Darlene wouldn't still looking for her mother's love. Darlene was a lovable person. She had a lot of love to give, but nobody gave back. In some ways, she was lonely, looking to have what other people had and she didn't have. She didn't have too many friends. Darlene didn't make friends very easy.
But little does anyone know that Darlene's desperate need for Julie's friendship would lead them down a disturbing and dangerous road. In early 2009, Darlene and her boyfriend Paul find out they're expecting a child, due at the end of August.
She was very excited.
She thought her life was changing. She was going to be happy for the first time.
Darlene was looking for the prince to come rescue her on a white horse, take her and live in the fairy tale land where she has her children, the white picket fence. He loves me, and I have my happy home with my family. This is the home Darlene wanted. That was her dream.
Darlene isn't the only one who's delighted. Julie also can't wait for the new addition to their extended family.
Julie was thrown to death.
This was all very exciting.
Darlene loved being pregnant. This is what she wanted. She felt happy.
Darlene believes she will finally have what she's always longed for.
Felt like she was having a family for the first time in her life.
But one day, Darlene's newfound happiness is suddenly destroyed by the people she thinks care about her the most. According to Darlene's family, she finds Julie in bed with her boyfriend Paul.
She was shocked. Why? Why would you do that? It was very devastating for her.
She thought Paul loved her, But you don't bring other women in and sleep with them. That is not love.
Darlene is shattered that her best friend Julie has stabbed her in the back.
A friend is somebody you can trust. What kind of friend are you?
Darlene immediately confronts Paul about his affair with Julie.
I don't think it's right.
But to her surprise, Paul isn't the least bit apologetic.
I don't care what you admit.
Instead, he becomes angry and tells her to mind her own business. Darlene is devastated.
She sat and cried, and I told her, Darlene, you need to face reality. Paul is not working out.
But Paul is the father of her unborn child, and Darlene desperately wants to make the relationship work.
Darlene said, I love him. I can't leave him. I'm staying.
Darlene ultimately decides to give Paul another chance. But she's not so forgiving of Julie. It's hard for Darlene to accept that her best friend has committed the ultimate betrayal, sleeping with her boyfriend while she's pregnant with his baby.
This was beyond devastation.
Furious that Julie would do something so horrific, Darlene finally demands an explanation.
Darlene said, why? Why would you do that?
I don't know.
Julie ultimately begs for forgiveness, telling Darlene that it was all a terrible mistake and that she never meant to hurt her.
Sorry.
Julie apologized to her and said, hey, look, Darlene, I'm sorry. It was wrong with what I did.
Although Darlene's trust is broken, she can't bear the thought of losing Julie's friendship, so she decides to accept her apology.
Darlene could never hold a grudge.
She'll forgive anybody. That's the type of person she was.
But Darlene will soon discover that this is just the first of many betrayals by Julie, all leading to one terrifying and violent end.
I wouldn't expect her to do what she did.
Darlene had no knowledge to what was coming down. That girl had no idea.
Deep cracks form in Darlene and Julie's friendship after a pregnant Darlene catches Julie sleeping with her boyfriend, Paul. But after Julie promises never to break Darlene's trust again, Darlene forgives her.
Darlene and Julie still remain good friends.
And their friendship gets even stronger when, a month later, in April 2009, Julie announces some incredible news.
I am pregnant. Can you believe
She, too, is expecting a baby.
This was all very exciting to Darlene. Very exciting.
Julie is thrilled that they'll both be new moms around the same time. But just when things finally seem to be getting back on track, there's another problem. Paul insists that Julie and her boyfriend Alex move out because they haven't been paying rent.
Paul said, if you're not giving me any money, you'll have to leave.
Both Darlene and Julie are upset they'll no longer be living together, but promise they'll still be best friends. But as soon as Paul and Darlene are alone in the house, their relationship spirals out of control.
More and more the fighting would start, constantly.
Darlene and Paul's petty arguments quickly turn into full-blown shouting matches. The fighting becomes more frequent and violent, even though Darlene is now 7 months pregnant.
The abuse got very heavy once Julie was gone from there.
I could see the black and blues on her. Squeeze marks. Hand grips. I told her, it's not good to keep getting black and blues like that.
And I asked Darlene, what are these bruises? You know what they are, honey.
I said to Darlene, do not go out with Paul. He's not the type of person for you. He seems like a very angry person when he's with you. He thought he had her and he could do just what he wanted with her. Demand her to do this, demand her to do that. And the more she stayed with him, the more beating she took being pregnant. What man takes and beats you while you're pregnant with his child? She was afraid of him.
A battered Darlene reaches out to Julie to tell her about the abuse. Julie seems concerned for Darlene and begs her to leave Paul. But everyone's pleas fall on deaf ears.
Darlene said, I love him. I can't leave him. She wanted that love. And if it meant she had to take the beatings, she was going to take it.
But one night, according to what family members later learn, Paul's abuse goes too far.
Darlene and Paul were arguing and yelling and fighting.
He was kicking her in the stomach, punching her in the stomach. He pulled her by her hair.
He just took and shoved her and she landed through the glass coffee table.
Darlene has the wind knocked out of her, and her body is covered with cuts and bruises.
She was crying hysterically. Honey, my legs are aching. My stomach's hurting.
You don't hit a pregnant mother.
Fortunately, Darlene and her unborn baby survive the attack.
It was lucky that Darlene didn't lose the baby.
After recovering from her injuries, Darlene makes a brave decision. She kicks Paul out of the house and begins the process of filing for a restraining order against him.
It took a lot of courage for her to stand up and say, hey, I'm not at your punching bag. She didn't want no harm to that baby.
Darlene's future looks brighter. But little does she know, a dark cloud is closing in. Alone at home, Darlene grapples with the fact that she is 8 months pregnant and single.
She was lonely. Darlene needed a lot of support.
And Julie is right there for her best friend, offering companionship and boosting her spirits.
She really needed a friend. Julie was there.
Now more than ever, Darlene finds comfort in Julie's friendship, and they both look forward to raising their children together.
Darlene said, I got a friend, and it's a mama friend. She'll love me. She'll help me.
Julie and Darlene spend most of their time together. But one day, when Julie is not around, Darlene is out walking and notices a dark-colored car that seems to be following her.
She said, somebody's following me, and I don't know who. I just see this car.
Initially, Darlene just thinks her mind is playing tricks on her. But soon, every time she is alone, she sees the mysterious car. Darlene grows alarmed.
She was scared stiff. She was really afraid.
Darlene is desperate to know who is stalking her and why. She wonders if it's Paul, out for revenge.
She thought Paul had somebody following her.
But while Darlene expects the worst, she has no idea of the nightmare that's in store for her.
It never entered any of our minds that something like that would happen.
A terrified Darlene, now 8 months pregnant, has noticed a strange car following her for the past few days. She thinks it might be her violent ex-boyfriend, Paul.
I told her to go to the police department immediately.
But when Darlene finally manages to get a glimpse of the driver, it's not Paul. And she's stunned to see who it is.
It was Jolie. Why was she following her? Darlene would not think her best friend would be following her.
It was a little strange. She couldn't understand why.
Darlene confronts Julie, demanding to know why she's been stalking her. But Julie seems surprised by the accusation and tells Darlene that she's being paranoid.
Julie said she just was riding around and happened to see her.
Although Julie's explanation seems odd, as usual, Darlene wants to believe her. Then unexpectedly, Julie suggests they spend the day together.
She was going out that day with Joe and they were going to hang out.
No one could have imagined that their day of fun would become a horrifying nightmare. They decide to go to Darlene's apartment. When they arrive, according to police, events take a sinister turn.
Darlene had no knowledge to what was coming down.
Out of the blue, police say, the woman Darlene thought was her best friend suddenly, and without warning, turns on Darlene.
There's a neighbor that said she heard Darlene screaming and yelling, "Let me go, stop it."
To Darlene's horror, Julie begins attacking her. Darlene desperately tries to get away.
Darlene was a fighter. Pregnant or not pregnant, Darlene was a fighter.
But eventually, Julie smashes her over the head with a hammer and drags her to the back bedroom.
I can only imagine what went through Darlene's mind during this tragic attack on her.
Then Julie, cold-heartedly, strangles her with an extension cord. Darlene is only 23 years old and dies on the floor of her own apartment.
Nobody deserved what she got, nobody.
But according to police, Julie isn't finished with her friend yet. Shockingly, murder is not her endgame.
I couldn't even imagine somebody being that cruel and ugly. Never. In a million years, it never entered any of our minds that she would do something like that.
Darlene and Julie's friendship has always been tumultuous. But one night, according to police, Julie violently murders her pregnant best friend Darlene.
I couldn't even imagine somebody being that cruel and ugly.
Darlene lies dead on the floor of her own apartment. But Julie isn't done yet. She has one more step to take in her twisted plan. Next, Julie takes a knife and does the unthinkable. She cuts across Darlene's stomach and pulls the baby out of her womb.
I would never think something like that would happen.
Miraculously, the baby girl survives the brutal procedure. Julie hurriedly wraps Darlene's lifeless body in a blanket and stuffs her in a closet. Then, Julie takes the baby and flees.
She took it because she was never pregnant.
Police and prosecutors say Julie's pregnancy was a total fraud. Once she found out that her best friend Darlene was expecting, Julie came up with a sick and vicious plan. She faked her own pregnancy and kept Darlene close, all the while plotting to steal her baby.
She fooled a lot of people.
I believe she was stalking her and planning all this all right along.
4 days later, after neighbors complain of a foul smell coming from Darlene's apartment, the landlord notifies police.
Worcester Police Responders Report Operator 109.
Hi, my name is I'm the landlord of Street. I need an officer to come. I believe my tenant's in the apartment dead.
They found Darlene in the closet, but they didn't even know it was Darlene. Her body was so decomposed. I don't understand how anybody could do this to this girl.
When I first heard it, I froze. I thought I died.
Family members are horrified to learn that not only is Darlene dead, but her baby has been cut out of her womb and kidnapped.
What do you mean it's gone? Where is the baby? Is the baby all right?
Authorities begin a large-scale manhunt to find Darlene's baby girl.
33T stand by.
They did put out a alert, possible baby missing, without knowing if Darlene's baby was alive or dead.
Little do they know that on the other side of town, Julie has just announced to her boyfriend Alex that she's given birth and is bringing the newborn home early from the hospital. Strangely, Alex doesn't question Julie about the circumstances surrounding the baby's birth.
She made Alex think she had just had her baby. Her baby.
Everything is going according to plan, and it would seem that Julie has gotten away with her heinous crime. But then, as Julie is showing off the baby to family and friends, someone notices something unusual about the umbilical cord.
It was tied off in a string instead of being clipped off, and there was blood around the ears.
Why is the baby still got blood on it?
The condition of the newborn raises red flags. And soon after, police get an anonymous call about Julie's supposed child. Right away, they wonder if it could be Darlene's kidnapped baby. Investigators quickly track down Julie for questioning.
Julie seemed very erratic, very nervous. She didn't want nobody to touch the baby. They thought it was very suspicious.
Julie is taken into police custody while authorities examine the newborn. And through DNA testing, they are able to positively ID the baby as Darlene's. Her family members are overjoyed that the little girl is alive and unharmed.
I was so overwhelmed and glad the baby was all right.
She's a miracle. When I first saw her, I picked her up and held her, and thank God she was alive.
Although Darlene's baby is now safe, relatives are heartbroken that the little girl will never have her real mother to raise her.
Her baby is gonna grow up without seeing her mother for birthday parties, graduations, weddings, Christmas. She can't say goodnight, Mommy, I love you.
Both Darlene's family and Paul fight for custody of the baby girl. But it is ultimately decided by the courts that Darlene's baby should be raised in foster care. Today, Julie Corey is in jail and has been charged with murder and kidnapping.
I feel they ought to give her life in prison without parole.
Julie has pled not guilty and is awaiting trial. She is innocent until proven guilty. Her boyfriend, Alex Dion, has not been charged with any crime, nor has anyone else. But Darlene's family still wants to know how someone Darlene considered to be her best friend could do something so cruel and vicious.
I'd want to ask her why. Why did you take Darlene's life? Why?
The love Darlene wanted is what got her killed.
I just still, till today, can't believe if Julie was her friend, how could you do this?